Hey there, it's Rachel Bailey, and many of you know that for a living, I help parents foster better behavior and moods and attitudes in their kids. So obviously, I believe that as parents, we do have an influence and an impact on how our kids feel and how our kids act. But I've noticed something in the past few years that I believe we've taken this idea that we can influence our kids a little bit too far. What I've noticed is that as parents, we measure our success by how our kids are feeling or acting, so that we feel like we are good parents if our kids are doing certain things, or if they're happy, or if they're feeling good or doing what we ask. We associate certain behaviors with us as good parents, and we feel like if they're not feeling a certain way, if they're not happy all the time, or if they're not behaving all the time, then we are bad parents. It's like we feel like we have everything to do with how our kids are feeling and acting. And I see that this is a huge problem if we measure our success by what is going on with our kids. And there are two reasons I see this as a problem. The first is that while I do think we have influence over our kids, I also know that there are certain things that happen with kids that are completely out of our control that have nothing to do with how we are as parents. So if we see our kids struggling, we may assume that we are bad parents because they're not happy, because they're not doing well. But honestly, struggle is a part of life, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we are bad parents. Or maybe our kids aren't listening to us one day, and that's because they're having a bad day. And that has nothing to do with how we are as parents. So we are setting ourselves up for failure because we are associating our success and what type of parent we are with something that is completely out of our control. The other reason I see that this is an issue is because if we believe that our success is based on how our kids act and how they feel, then that makes us want to control how our kids act and how they feel. It makes us feel better when they're happier or when they're doing a certain thing. So we try to make them do that certain thing because it makes us feel better. Or we try to get them to feel a certain way because it makes us feel better as parents. But in reality, and you may have noticed this as a parent, when you try to make your child do something or feel a certain way, or you try to make them act a certain way, it actually creates more resistance from them, and it creates more negative feelings and negative behavior because you're trying so hard to get them to be a certain way. The outcome is not going to be what you want it to be if you are trying to control how they act and how they feel. So if you don't necessarily want to measure success based on what's going on for your kids, what do you do instead? So I have two suggestions of things that you could focus your attention on instead. The first is think about what type of parent you want to be. Do you want to be a parent who's more patient? Do you want to be a parent who's more lighthearted? Do you want to be a parent who is someone who doesn't get sucked into your kids' big emotions? Think about what type of parent you want to be, and then create an action for yourself based on what type of parent you want to be. So maybe you want to be a parent who's more lighthearted. Your action might be something like being silly with your kids at least once a day. That's the action. So instead of focusing on controlling them, focus on doing the action that you identified. Focus on being the type of parent that you want to be. That is something that's in your control, and it's something that's going to make you feel better as a parent. Another suggestion that's similar but a little bit different is to think about your parenting strengths. What are you good at as a parent? Are you a parent who's good at asking your kids about the things that matter to them? Are you good at, like I'm good at, understanding what's going on for my kids and why they do certain things? I really respect their perspective. So that is my strength. So think about what your strength is as a parent and put your energy, instead of trying to control your child or make them be some way, put your energy into doing what you're good at as a parent. Do more of that. Because in reality, when you focus on what matters to you as a parent and you're acting consistently with what you believe is a good parent, and when you're focusing on your strengths as a parent, then you are going to feel more confident and successful as a parent by focusing on what's in your control and focusing on what is important to you. And ultimately, your confidence is going to trickle down to your kids, and that's actually going to help them feel and act better than you trying to get them to be a certain way. So I hope that gives you some ideas. If you want even more ideas for how to foster better behavior and feel better as a parent, you can check out my podcast at Your Parenting Long Game. If you want even more individualized support and feedback, you can check out my website where I talk about how I can give you a free 30-minute call to discuss your situation and how I can support you. You can find the details for that at my website, rachel-bailey.com/work-with-Rachel. So I look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.